Hi YouTubers, my bliss babies. I thought I'd show you this weird heart that you could buy at one time from IKEA. I don't know if they still sell it. And when I bought it for Valentine's Day for my husband, he was like, "That is weird." And I said, "No, you can just, you know, just sew off the arms or take those off if the arms freak you out." But I'm really glad I kept it all these years because, when you think about it, you can actually love yourself. And one of the best ways of loving yourself is to find work and a job that you're going to love. Or at least if it's a job that you can't love day to day, is it a place that you can hang your hat, even temporarily, until you can find the job you love, but at least pay the bills, take care of yourself, take care of your family, or what you need. And I've been wanting to share my story for a long time. I'm not sure what form it would ever take, whether it was going to be a blog or, some sort of writing mechanism. So I'm so grateful that I have this experience here on YouTube. And this is one of the things I had wanted to talk about originally. And I've just been playing around with the different functions on YouTube. But I thought, I'm seeing everyone talk about either recently quitting their job or wanting to quit their job. So I thought I would post a video about quitting my job. And I don't think you see a lot of YouTubers talk about, what happens on the other side. So I thought I'd take a few minutes to talk about quitting your 9 to 5 job. And then I'll do a series of videos to come that talk about quitting your job because I have done it many times. And as someone that's now 58 years old, on sort of the tail end of my career, I totally know what everyone's going through. I know the crazy stress and sort of that feeling of like, "Urgh," when you wake up in the morning, and it's horrible. But what I can tell you is someone that has quit my 9 to 5 job, quit my corporate job to pursue a career in something I love. It's incredible. It's incredible. So here's the quick story. Is during 9/11, which was 2001, I had reached sort of the point that I always wanted to make in terms of money. And at that time, I don't know, maybe it's not as much money for people these days, but back then, I was making 80,000 a year. I had the uh, corporate title. It was Director of Marketing for a major software association in Washington, D.C. So I'm Canadian. I had gone to the States to marry the man who I thought would be the love of my life, but that's another story. And had reached this, I'd always wanted to be a director. I always wanted to make a certain amount of money. And just previous to that job, I had a job with WashingtonPost.com. But the last job that I had, the last corporate gig I had, sure, I was making money, but I was working extremely long hours. Now, my husband and I chose not to have children. So he was a professor of architecture, so he worked quite late. I worked quite late. And at that time, being people that didn't have children, we'd spend money on like takeout. And you just because you're just so stressed, you have no time to cook, you don't even want to cook, so we ate a lot of takeout. That's where a lot of our income was going. And I think it would be sometimes we get home at like 8 or 9 at night, just grab something for dinner. And I remember that my job felt stressful because even though I had this great title, it was horrible because my job as a director of marketing meant I had to coordinate everybody. And I would describe my job as making sure the trains ran on time. So I would give a fake deadline and say to people, "Hey, get this copy to me." I'd tell the department head to me by a certain date. Then I take it to the sort of graphic artist, and then they'd go, oh no, they need to provide this, this, and this, and this. So I'd always give fake deadlines. Everyone knew that they were fake deadlines. And so at the last minute, I would have to be like pulling teeth to get the information I needed from everyone. But I thought it was kind of a dumb job because it was so stressful because there were a lot of situations that were beyond my control. Then I also had young people that were reporting to me, and they had their own problems and things that they were worried about. And at that time, at that age, so that's now, some 25 years ago, I was stressed because I didn't have the same mental coping skills that I do now in terms of worried about, well, what will people think of me if I was harsh with them as a manager, those kinds of things. So all those kind of insecurities were swirling in my head. And I didn't have at that time a way of turning work off and coping. So I just hated it. I absolutely hated it. So then I decided, after doing some budgeting, that, you know, I, I thought that between my husband and I, we'd be okay. And, I didn't know what would happen um, past a year. And I had helped my husband go through school at Harvard. So there was a time when he quit his job so that I could put him through school. So we had learned to live off one income. And so when I said to him, I'm just so stressed, um, he actually was very accommodating because he said, okay, well, I've had my chance to go to postgraduate school to finish his master's. And he actually only took the degree he took was only a year. So he said, why don't you go ahead and do the same? And I said, I honestly have no clue about what I'm going to do next. But what I do know is that I absolutely hate waking up in the morning. My brain is swirling. I can't think. I would sit on the couch all weekend just recuperating. And then all these scenarios would play in my head. And, later on when I told my family about this in Canada, that I had quit my job, being Asian, oh no, absolutely. You don't quit a high paying job. Um, you keep your stable job as long as possible. And I even remember my uncle had said to me, your family had gone through the internment that happened here in Canada. And he said, your family had to work, like picking berries, or they had to be fishermen, and you have brains. He said, why do you want to take a job working with your hands? So what I did was, you know, I just did all this research about 9 to 5 jobs. And I think at the time, Tim Ferriss had a book out, The 4 Hour Work Week. So I looked at some of that. I looked at a book called Vagabonding by Ralph Potts. I also was reading a book called Your Money or Your Life. And these all provided just guidance and inspiration to like just quit. And so at that time, I thought, well, what am I going to do next? And I knew I loved gardening, and my father and my grandmother were just awesome gardeners. I used to go to the garden center and wander for like hours and hours at a time. So I thought, well, why don't I try gardening? And in another video in this series, I'll tell you about how I took the leap to it. So here's the fast forward, which you often don't get in a lot of videos, is that now close to 25 years later, I have now had a brilliant career, not only in just gardening, because at that time I went for a part-time hourly job with no like degree in horticulture, wasn't even sure what I would do, but I knew we'd be all right because my husband and I had enough money where we could live off one person's income, and that any money that we had that I could earn, even at an hourly wage, we'd be all right. And it was the best decision I ever made. So for those of you that just like can't stand your work day, and what I say by 9/11 is 9/11 put everything in sharp focus, is like anything could happen to us at any given day, or we don't have another day to celebrate. And that just boom, that just, and I'm sure a lot of other people quit after 9/11. So if that's what happened to you. So I think it was 9/11 was September, and then by the spring of that year, I quit. And best, best, hands down, decision ever. And I can tell you, if you have a full-time, well-paying job, don't let anybody tell you that it's a stupid decision. And believe me, family will tell you, some friends will tell you, they say, hang in. But what I explained to my uncle is that I said, yes, I should probably stick it out. But I said, you have no idea of what's swirling on in my head and how stressful that stress is. And so, my advice to you is if you have to quit, but you have the financial means to do so, because a lot of times people have the financial means to live on less, and yet they're scared to take the leap because they're worried about security. But I can tell you that it's not a life worth living. You're just dying a little bit every day. And I'd see colleagues who hung in there and they were just like counting the days until they can, get that payout, age plus service. And I thought that's not a way to live where you're like, I just have, 5 years and 3 months and then I'll get my full blah, blah, blah bonus and da, 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 da. No, 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 no. So, later on, I'll put more videos out to tell you exactly how and some of the mindset it took to do this, but I don't regret it. I don't regret it. And I can tell you now that I have a much fuller life and that I was able to replace that income with my um, with a job in gardening. And that even if you have to go part-time, whether it's in the desired career that you want or some stepping stone towards it, you can do it. You absolutely can do it. You will find the willpower in yourself because you're strong. So take the leap now. And if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you can figure it out. You're smart. And there's not a lot of time left after some point. So do take the leap as quickly as possible. And I'm telling you, as someone that's been on the other side, you're gonna love yourself more for it. And oh, heart's upside down, but I wish you well. I'm sending you this heart with funny arms, and if I could hug you through the YouTube, I will. Okay, lots of love and light. And please put any questions in the comments about what it takes to quit your 9 to 5, and I'll be happy to help.